All right, everybody, what's up? This is Faith coming at you again with another one of my live streams. And it's so good to be in the presence of my people. All right, y'all probably can't really see me because it's still dark because it's so early. I might try to see if I can turn this light on. Let's see. But yeah, I got some goodies that I want to talk about here. I got a lot of stuff on my mind. So I'm going to get that out this morning. I know that the majority of you are still snuggled in your beds, fast asleep as well you should be. And I wish it was me. Trust and believe. I wish it was me. All right. So I got the light turned on the other side. It's not much of a glare. All right, so now I can, you guys can see me, and I can get back to rolling. But yeah, guys, I really wanted to talk to you about this live stream that I was watching last night before I went to sleep, and probably the major reason why I'm driving today and I'm a little tired. I was on one master teacher's channel last night. He had a hell of a live stream. I had to really give him kudos and props for putting it together and lining up the people that he lined up. I really like listening to the younger people talk on issues of race, sex, dating, so on and so forth, because it's the younger generation, that's really going to carry the torch for a lot of the problems and issues that we're facing as a group today. So it was really interesting to get the point of view of the young ladies, three young ladies there. I believe it was Brandy came back again, and I saw Nancy on there again. It's always a pleasure to see her talking. Ramil was on there. Edward Anderson was on there. And he dropped quite a few fire bombs. I had to give him a few props. But overall, I think the men sucked. And here's why. Nothing against black men at all. Like I said, it is what it is. I've just come to over the years to expect a certain response from this group. And like I said, it's the same MO they do. They started asking the women how old they were, and as if this was, relevant to the argument. Because the topic was about black women having attitudes. I guess you have to be a certain age to have an attitude. But, whatever. They were asking, their age and all this type of stuff. And of course, the usual insults came out. The usual, oh, you guys lose value when you hit 30. This is the only country where that isn't true. Everywhere else, that's the norm when a woman hits 30. Now it's 30. I thought it was 35, so I was being generous. Listen, guys, I shared the link to the video on my community tab. The link to that live stream, I shared it to my community tab. So anybody that wants to check out that live stream, just go to my community tab and click on the video there, and it'll take you directly to the video that I'm referencing. I mean, these people, especially the men, like, I like seeing stuff like this because it's coming right out of their own mouths. And they're validating everything that I'm saying here. These are the same people that will sit up and argue me down about my views. But they'll sit up amongst themselves and they will regurgitate the exact same thing that I've been saying. They will validate my arguments every time. So, this is why I value channels like one master teacher. And I love when those guys go on there and expose themselves. And so then I can say, I can point to stuff like this and say, look, black women, I was right. Look, they're doing this. This is what they're doing. This is what they're saying. So, the next time they come and want to argue with me and give me a hard time, I got the links to these videos where they are collectively in a group on panels doing exactly what I'm sitting here telling you that they do. And so there cannot be any gaslighting. That they said right there on the panel. I think it was like 1 or 2 videos ago that I said this is what they do. They ask 3 major questions. How old are you? Do you have any kids? It's crazy. It is crazy. But they do it every single time. So now the conversation progresses into the women talking about their preferences. And I talked about this on the last video that I had critiqued of one master teacher. And there was a young woman named Janae on that one that pretty much was going back and forth with Solo TV. And she was calling him disgusting and fat and what she wanted. And so on this live stream, once again, here come the young women. They're in their 20s or very early 30s. And they are once again expressing what it is that they want. They're saying, hey, why can't we, want to be with guys that we're attracted to? Once again, but if I say it, they'll come and argue with me. Women don't choose men based on looks. Now, they go back and forth. Now, what they're really saying is that women should not choose men based on looks. That's what they're really saying. So basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to tell the women what makes their pussy wet. But they don't want nobody to tell them what makes their dick hard. And I find the whole thing hilarious. And so then later on into the conversation, when the women were saying, well, why should I settle for this, that, and the other when you guys are talking about $80,000 a year, which $80,000 a year ain't shit, y'all, okay? Let me just, I'm going to put that in perspective in a little while. But, she was saying, why should I settle for a guy thinking that he's the head honcho at $80,000 a year when I make more than that? And I got options. So basically the women, once again, validation. The women are saying exactly what I've been saying about money not being a real issue when you're a woman that basically has your own ability to earn. And in this day and age, especially in this country, women do not have to settle. I've been saying this for the longest. So now money is irrelevant. And these men who complain about gold diggers, by the way, they were the ones to bring up money first. They're the ones to bring up money first, but then complain about gold digging later. But then later on down the line, if a woman says that money is relevant, then they'll say that she's a gold digger and she's lazy. See, you see how, they can't have it both ways. They definitely can't have it. And once again, go and click on the link in my community tab if you think I'm lying. The double talk was off the chain. And so then, once again, with the bad statistics, you have black men sitting on women what they are and what they aren't. And they don't have any data. They don't have any type of study to back up what they're saying. And I was so proud of the women. Now, this is one thing I'm starting to see black women do more of, and I'm so happy. They're asking black men to show their receipts when they start coming out here with these ridiculous figures, when they start coming out here with these ridiculous sweeping generalizations. They're beginning to ask them to show receipts for what they're claiming. And I was so proud of the ladies. Once again, they're sitting up there making all these sweeping generalizations like they normally do and expecting these women to eat it up. And they just weren't going. And so then they kept saying, well, give us a fact. Give us a fact. these men cannot give them facts. They were used to just regurgitating and throwing out anything, and women just gobble it up because we don't do research. This is what I'm talking about. I've been saying for the longest time, ladies, stop just taking what they say at face value. Stop it. So I was, these young women, they really did me proud. I was like, yes. I don't like seeing black men who are shysters trying to get over on women by telling them anything. Get over. And they were not about to let these guys get over. So, they get a little bit further down into the conversation. And I want to go a little bit into the whole wanting a submissive woman and being a man of means and not wanting to deal with a woman's attitude. Because these guys kept talking about how if they make these six figures, they don't want to hear the woman's mouth. No man that's a man of means wants to be bothered with a woman that has an attitude. I want to talk about, good morning, Gia girl. I want to talk about what exactly constitutes sit down and shut up money. Because I think everybody got that kind of, misconstrued. If you're making $80,000 a year, that is not sit down and shut up money. As a matter of fact, if you were to make $80,000 a year and tell your woman that she got to stay at home and take care of some kids, y'all gonna be doing okay, but you're not going to be able to have the extras that you want, because sure as shit stinks, he's gonna definitely buy his shit. He's gonna buy his name brand clothes. He's gonna buy his car. He's gonna buy his jewelry. But if you approach him and he makes only $80,000 a year and you have needs, wants, and desires too, you want your Fendi bag, you want your hair done, you want to buy a lace front, you want to, get extras. He's going to have a problem with that, because $80,000 a year is only enough to buy extras for one person. And this is what I want black women to pay attention to. If he's making $80,000 a year, that is not sit down and shut up money. And these guys, $100,000 a year ain't even sit down and shut up money. I'm just going to be honest with you. If your husband does not earn enough to give you a decent allowance on a regular basis that would allow you to do what you want and do what you desire, buy what you want and buy what you desire, that is not sit down and shut up money. So this submission that these guys are asking for, if they're making $80,000 a year, $100,000 a year, even $150,000 a year, and that's pushing it. Sit down and shut up money starts at $200,000 a year. That means he has enough money to pay all the bills in the house, plus invest and save for you all's retirement, because that's important, and put away money for your children's future, because you want to send them to college, and pay you an allowance. Sit down and shut up money starts at $200,000 a year. That's when you can get total submission. But if you're making less than that, I gotta work too. Guess what? I got to work too, because you ain't got enough sit down and shut up money to sustain both of us up in here, to get the type of submission that you want. And they actually sat there on that panel and they asked the women this question: would you have a problem with a man what did he say? Would you have a problem with a man controlling your life? This is what this is all about. They want women they can control, but they don't have sit down and shut up money. Sit down and shut up money is not $80,000 or $100,000 a year for what they're asking for. They cannot afford what they're asking for. In order for them to get what they're asking for, they will have to join the top 20%. And they're just not going to do it. They're just not. So rather than join the top 20%, what their behinds do with their 80,000, 100,000 a year earning asses, they go get their passport. They'll go to a second and third world country where the women are poor and can't even afford water and soap. And then they will go there and act as if they're balling out. That's what they do. And then they'll come back here bragging about how submissive those poor women in those second and third world countries are. Peep the game. Now, if those women in those second and third world countries were ever afforded the opportunity to come here to the United States and do like American women do, get their own bag, do you think that they would be bothered with their funky asses, their little 80,000, 100,000 a year making asses for 1 second? Hell no. This is why these men prey on poor women. Like I used the example yesterday of Kirk when he was selling Rashida's mother drugs. And I can imagine Rashida was probably brought up in a poverty situation where he was able to actually come in and adopt Rashida. So at one point he was Rashida's father. I used that example yesterday. These are the type of men that swoop in and take advantage of poor women. These 80,000, 100,000 a year don't have sit down and shut up money Negroes. So if they don't have the sit down and shut up money, what they do is they go and find women that they are attracted to that don't have nothing so that they can control them. Peep the game. Let me see. Gia Girl says, I sort of would, but if he was making me happy and taking care of me, I'd submit. Gia Girl, you good. Because I'm going to tell you something. I make 6 figures, but I look at, okay, if I make 6 figures and I had to take care of an extra person, okay, say for instance, I had a house husband for my retirement. But would I be able to pay a nigga an allowance with that? Hell the fuck no. Would I be able to, like, say for instance, if we had children at home, would I be able to save for the children's college fund plus pay him an allowance so that he can be there and feel like he's, worth something? Hell no, that's not enough money. And you would not think it's enough money either if you had to keep going to this guy over and over again for shit that you want, desire. For fuck need, because he got enough to supply your needs, but he's not going to be able to have enough to supply your wants. That's not enough money. So at 80,000, 100,000, you are also going to have to work. If you're gonna get anything that you want and desire, if you're gonna have any type of quality of life that you want. Oh, that last comment was a mistake. I hit something and it looked like a circle. Oh, okay. Oh, no, never mind. Yeah, so, that's why I'm sitting here explaining what actual sit down and shut up money is. 200,000 or more. That is sit down and shut up money. Because I know if I need something, my wants, my needs, my desires, he's going to be able to supply that. He's going to be able to supply that because he's making more than enough to do so. I can sit down and not even have to work because he's making the salary of 2 people. Think about what amount of salary it would take to sustain you. And that is how much he would have to make double. Because if it's going to sustain you, he would have to have enough also to sustain him. Because every human being has wants and desires. He's going to want certain things for himself, and if he's not able to get it, he's going to be unhappy, and you're going to want certain things for yourself, and if he's not able to supply it, you're not going to be happy. So 80,000, 100,000, that is not shut up and sit down money. That is not. That is we can, work together type money. That is, you can pay all the bills and maybe I can work and keep all my money type money. But that's not, you can sit me down and I can't work type money. No. Gia Girl says, I agree, but if we live down south, him making less than 80K would be okay. Well, all I have to say, Gia Girl, is you're going to have to experience what I'm talking about. $80,000 a year is a nice sum of money that will put you in a middle income category, okay? Middle income category is good. Like I said, there's a lot of families that survived off of middle income. So if you're the type of woman that's satisfied with him just paying the bills and putting a little bit away for savings for the both of you, and you don't earn any money and you'll just live off of that, but you can't really go on vacation like that if you want to. You can't really buy clothes, shoes, get your hair done, get your nails done like you want to. Those are the sacrifices that you're going to have to make off of that particular income if he's the sole breadwinner. Now, if he was making 80,000 or 100,000 and you were also working and he was the sole breadwinner that paid all the bills in the house, but let's say you make 50, 60,000 and he tells you to just pay a couple of small bills and you keep the rest of your money in your pocket, then something like that would work, but you would still have to work basically in order for you to sustain certain things that you want out of life. That's what I'm trying to say. So down south, yeah, that little bit of money would be okay, but that's still not sit down money. That's not the type of money that you can be like, oh, I'm just going to not work and stay at home and be completely satisfied with just his salary. He's not going to be able to give you an allowance that you're going to be satisfied with unless you're satisfied with shopping off Wish.com or Fashion Nova or going to the $7 store or buying your clothes at Walmart. I mean, that is what that is going to afford you. That's what I'm trying to get you to see. That is what that is going to look like. Now, if you are a high-end type female and, you like nice things, then, the little allowance that he's going to be able to give you off $80,000, $100,000 a year, you might be able to buy a nice purse every now and then. And I'm just being completely honest. And don't add children into the equation because it's going to suck off even more of your play money. Basically, what I'm trying to say is a man making 80,000 or 100,000 is not going to be able to give you the play money that you're going to want. You're going to expect this play money, but I know a little bit about household budgeting, finances. It's not going to be a lot of play money. You're going to need a job. Personally, he should be the breadwinner, not me. I'll take care of the home, but he should be the breadwinner. I saw a woman say she takes care of her business and her husband and children. Exactly. And every household is made up differently. I don't have anything against households where people have defined the roles. Everybody know exactly what it is that they're going to do. Like I have a cousin who is she's a computer, I forget what the hell she is, a programmer or whatever, but she makes over $200,000 a year. And her husband has a teaching degree. Her husband is a teacher. So basically, their salaries are lopsided. She makes more than him. Now, when they started their family, my cousin, she got pregnant for him, and she had the baby. Because she was the one making $200,000 a year, it just made sense for her to be the one to go and work, and he stayed at home with the kids until the children got old enough to go to high school. He did that. So, I don't have any problem with those type of families. You do what works best for you financially. But I'm just saying, as far as being realistic as a woman, now, if it had been the other way around and she had to rely on his teacher's salary, talking about sitting at home, there are a lot of things that she would have to do without. That's what I'm trying to get you to see. That $80,000, $100,000 a year is not sit down and shut up money. Yeah, but the wife mom looks run down, and that's what happens to many women when they work harder. Let me tell you something. Once you have a baby, that in and of itself is going to start the progression of aging. When you have children, when you start having children, that in and of itself kicks in a woman's aging cycle. That makes you age faster than anything when you start having children. That's the reason why I say a lot of you women, y'all gonna have to live a little and experience some stuff to understand what I'm talking about. When I was in my 20s and didn't have any children, body was banging, didn't have no stomach, titties sitting up. Hey, I was great. As soon as I started having children, started going downhill. And that fat is not easy to lose. Now, the first child, I lost the fat. It was no problem. I went right down, snapped right back, stomach back flat, booty still up, titties still perky. That was after the first child. Then the second child came. It was a little bit harder. I had to work a little bit harder, but I was still young. I still had a very quick metabolism, so I was able to still get the fat off. By the time I got to hit my 30s, okay, and start having them babies, that's when the aging started kicking in, and the snapback was not fast. Children will age your body. I don't give a damn what you say. Now, unless your husband is making enough money to get you plastic surgery and a mummy makeover, after that, it's going to be extremely hard to snap back, even with exercise. And a lot of times, like, especially if you get the fupa, when your stomach muscle tears, that right there, you're gonna have to have surgery in order for your stomach to be flat. But this is the type of thing that men don't know about and young women don't know about. People just running around here flapping their mouth and don't know what the hell they're talking about. I'm not against surgery, especially in cases like that, because there are a lot of cases where you could lose all the weight, but you'll have that hanging skin there from that torn stomach muscle that you have to have surgery to repair, and you have to get that tuck for that hanging skin. And this, my dear, is what you're going to have to experience and find out for yourself. But I will say, at 80,000, 100,000 a year, and you're talking about just sitting at home and letting him pay all the bills and take care of you, that 80,000, 100,000 a year he's not going to be able to get you the mummy makeover. So what then? So now, as you stated, you done aged. Your body, you done had all these babies. Your body ain't the same anymore. Even with the exercise, when you start losing the weight, you're going to still have that hanging skin from that torn stomach muscle. Because about the third or fourth child, that's when they said about 80% of women, this is all women that have more than 2 children, have that torn stomach muscle. So what are you going to do? What happens when he don't want to pay for your mommy makeover because he can't afford it? Because he only making 80,000 a year, which is not sit down and shut up money. That's what I keep trying to tell you. I'm trying to explain it. I'm trying to break it down. Please listen and receive what I'm saying. If he's not making $200,000 a year or more, that is not enough for you to be sitting up here talking about something. You got to listen to what I say and do whatever I want and all this type of stuff. At 80,000 a year, you still got to work. Now, if he's making 80,000 a year and you still got your job, and he's paying all the bills and allowing you to keep your coins to yourself, you can afford to go get that mommy makeover. That's what I'm trying to get you to see. Now, if he's making $200,000 a year, he can afford to sit you down, and he can afford to pay for your mommy makeover. He can give you an allowance that will afford you all the things that you want. But other than that, you're going to have to work if he's making less than that. That's the bottom line. That's how economics work. But there's too many black women that ain't never had nothing. We think that 80,000 and 100,000 a year is like a lot of money. You would be surprised. These women think that they can just kick back and retire if they man make $100,000 a year. Ooh, my man make $100,000 a year. He can give me an allowance. No, if you all have a house, if you all have cars, if you have bills, if you have children and all these other expenses, that $100,000 a year Plus, he's got to save for both of your retirements, by the way. So all of that is being put on him. He's not going to have the extra money for your mommy makeover. He's not going to have the extra money for you to get that Fendi bag. He's not going to have the extra money for you to go on vacation every year. Now, you might go every other year. You might get every now and then get a nice Fendi bag, but other than that, that's not sit down and shut up money. I'm trying to tell y'all. I'm sorry, I can't read these names. I ain't got my glasses on. Let me put my glasses on so I can see my blind behind. Now I'm looking like a nerd. Okay, Nakisha Morrow says, right, kids got to go to college. Exactly. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm not saying that $80,000 or $100,000 a year is something that you snub your nose at. What I'm saying is, when he's making that much, he's making enough to be the sole provider and pay all the bills in the home, but he's not making enough to give you an allowance where you can be comfortable and buy all the things that you want and desire, plus save for kids' college and you all's retirement. He's not going to be able to do all that on his own with that salary. You're going to have to work if you want more. Now, if he's making $200,000 a year, then he can definitely afford to do it all. So there's a difference between him being able to do his role as a provider, but you are going to have to work if you want your extras, and him being able to do it all. And then there's the man that only makes $60,000 a year. You definitely, with this type of guy, gonna have to work, and that's that 50-50 situation, because he definitely ain't gonna be able to pay all the bills, because he's gonna be lacking in certain things that he wants. And this is the financial planning that I'm talking about, the financial education that black women need. We don't have enough people breaking down what it takes to have all this stuff, these delusions of grandeur that we all have in our minds of what a man is supposed to do and how he's supposed to provide and all this type of stuff. We have delusions of grandeur, but we don't never crunch the numbers and find out exactly what would it take for me to live that lifestyle where I can just sit back and let a man take care of me and supply all my wants, needs, and desires, and also take care of our children. I'm telling you how much it is, $200,000. That's how much he gonna have to make. If he making less than that, you gonna have to work too. Let's see. Nakisha Morrow says he is making enough to be a good partner, but not a provider. Exactly. And this is what a lot of women, y'all gonna have to learn the difference. Like, even $150,000, if he made $150,000, because I'm thinking, I look at it like this: the man would have to make the equivalent of 2 middle income salaries. $150,000, that's $75,000 for him, $75,000 for you. That's the equivalent of 2 middle income salaries. So I would lower it to, I would not go under $150,000 a year for a man to tell you that you can sit down and he take care of you. If he's making less than $150,000, you cannot sit down, sis. It's not going to be enough money unless you satisfied with the bare minimum. That's the reason why, most of these white women, when they're in situations where the man, sits them down and they're at home, most of those guys are 6-figure guys making $150 or more a year. They got to sit down and shut up money. But black men, majority of them, is only about 20% of them that got that sit down and shut up money. And when they hit that 20%, a lot of them start dating out. So even then, they're not giving sisters the benefit of being that stay-at-home mother where they're making that sit down and shut up money, and we can just bask in the glory of them taking care of us and being able to financially take care of our children and save for our retirement too. They're not doing that with black women when they get up to that 20 percentile. But it's always interesting when I ask young women how much money it would take for them to submit, and they have this made up figure in their head. They think 75, 80,000, 100,000 is a lot of money, and it's a lot of money for one individual. One. And you all may be able to take care of your children and save a little bit for retirement, but you're not going to have any, he's not going to have extra left over to give you as an allowance. You're not going to get much of an allowance from that. Gia Girl says, black women, we rarely experience that type of freedom. Exactly. Our men are, they're just not building at the rate that they should be in order to make those types of demands. In order for our men to make those types of demands, they have to build at the rate that the white men, the Asian men, the Arab men, those are the men that are making that sit down and shut up money. The Jews are making a killing. Okay, let's just be honest. They're making that sit down and shut up money where they can have their women at home taking care of the kids. And if they don't do one thing right, it's the backhand. And those women stick around for it. That's that sit down and shut up money. And black men just don't have it. They want black women to act like they're making $200,000 a year when they're only really making $50,000, $30,000, $40,000, $60,000. They're making enough money to sustain themselves a little bit and make themselves happy a little bit. That's the reason why they come up with this little figure that women are only worth $40. I'll leave $40 on the nightstand. Those are them $40 niggas. Okay. So if you're the type of woman that can survive off of $40, you can have at it. Because that's what you're going to get with that. They're going to put $40 on the nightstand and say that they gave you something extra. And then you're going to have to decide what you're going to do with that $40. You're going to get your nails done. You can't even get your nails and your toes done with $40. This is what I'm trying to tell you. These are the type of niggas we dealing with. This is their economics. This is how they figure. They figure like niggas. And black women, we going to have to start using our head. If the man is not making twice your salary, he's not going to be able to sit you down, sis. He's just not. He's got to be making twice your salary. And if you're struggling on your salary, he actually need to be making more than that. Because if you're making $40,000 a year and you struggling, then he needs to be making more than that. I would say at minimum, he needs to be making at least $75,000. And that's enough to take care of himself. Now, you double $75,000 and that's $150,000. That's enough money for you to sit down. If you struggling with 40, he can't be making no daggone 80. You understand what I'm saying? He has to be making double a middle income salary in order for him to be able to sit you down where you ain't got to work at all. That is the lesson that I wanted to give you guys this morning. Because I don't think black women know what actual sit down and shut up money is. I don't think black men even know what actual sit down and shut up money is. Sit down and shut up money is not laying $40 on the counter and saying that you done gave her something extra. Nakisha Morrow says we don't understand money. No, we don't. And see, and black men, they bank on the ignorance and naivety of black women too. That is the reason why for so long they got away were just blurting out these false statistics, and we never questioned them on it. It wasn't until people like Cynthia G, I have to give her props, came out and she started actually doing research and debunking a lot of the lies. I will give her props for doing that. And myself too, because I came out around that time and I was doing my research and debunking a lot of the lies. But a lot of times, you know, we let them just get away with being smooth talkers. Somebody came onto my chat yesterday and they said that black women let the least educated tell us something about statistics and facts. And she said, I mean, when she said that, that was like a light bulb went off in my head. Because she was absolutely right. Black men are the least educated, but they run around here just blurting out these false statistics. They don't even know how to crunch the numbers. As a matter of fact, tomorrow when I go live, I'm going to do my live panel, and I'm going to invite people to come up, anybody that wants to dispute what I'm saying. Tomorrow I'm going to do a live on the statistics. And I'm going to show where I get my information from. This is something that they don't do. They don't show where they get their information. They don't show their work. They just blurt out something and you just supposed to believe them. Gia Girl says, I know many black women that went into a relationship with black men knowing he wasn't going to be the breadwinner, and he treated them like crap instead of being respectful and grateful to her. Yeah. Black men sit up here and they bank on your loving and generous nature. Now they sit up here and they claim that we got attitudes, but majority of us have attitudes because we were loving and generous to the wrong men. That, like Gia Girl said, they just took advantage and overlooked it. They did not appreciate it. We were loving and generous to the wrong men, and that is the reason why a lot of us have attitudes. Nikisha Morrow says, especially young women without life experience. 80,000 seems like a lot. Yeah. I was watching Mr. Fantastic's panel about 3 or 4 months ago, maybe not even that long. And there was this guy named Marco on there. And he had some women on there from Colombia. They didn't even speak English. And he was asked, one of the guys in the chat room was asking the women how much a man would have to make in order for her to seriously consider him. And those girls sat up there and said 40,000. This is why I can't take women that live in third and second world countries seriously. This is what they said, and Marco had to correct one of the girls. And even when he corrected her, he corrected her to say 50,000, which ain't shit. Nikisha Morrow says, stop. Right. And see, this is what I'm talking about. You know, it's like they play that con game on women that don't know no better. And that's whether they're here in the United States or abroad. They can play that con game on women that don't know no better. And all I'm trying to do is say, ladies, knowing your worth also means knowing how much it's going to cost in order for you to sit down and not have to work. In order for you to sit down and not have to work, he needs to be making the salary of 2 people. And that's 2 people making a middle income salary. Middle income at about 75,000. So you double that, it's 150,000. That's how much he needs to make in order for you to be able to sit down. So no, Marco, 50,000 ain't shit. She needed to multiply that times 3. There was another point I wanted to make, and it just totally escaped my mind. But I do want to do my panel tomorrow. And like I said, I'm going to I'm going to put out the statistics, okay? Because here we go. I saw a lot of black men in that live stream going, oh yeah, black women. They were going like, yeah, 72% of them are others and all this yada yada yada. And so reiterate this on every single live stream. 72% is not the number of black women. 72% is the number of children living with single parents. And then when you break down, sorry, I'm back. I'm buffering. Getting into the, and I believe 7% live. No, 7% live with others. So they always want to throw out these false numbers that don't represent black women at all. I have the actual stat of black women who are childless. Black women who are childless make up 40% of black women here in the United States. 40% of black women are childless. Approximately 48 to 50% of black women are single mothers. And that leaves about 10 to 12% that are married. And they have different statistics within that 12% that are married that have children. So that is how the stats are really breaking down. But black men don't understand how to read the numbers. Now, they also threw out this false stat that black women are sleeping with the same 20% of men. Because according to the CDC website, only 27 to 30% of black men are single fathers. But then if you read further into how they come up with that number, they say that the figure may be inaccurate due to missing information. And they get majority of their information from birth records. Now, I took the extra step a long time ago. This is about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, because when I saw that on the CDC report that I read 5 years ago, I contacted the CDC via email to question them. Oh, I'm sorry. My phone fell. I personally contacted the CDC via email myself to ask them why there was missing information when it came down to the number of single fathers. And they said that they could never get an accurate reading of single fathers because their data relies heavily on birth records. And they said about 40% of black women do not report the father on birth records. So that is the only reason why that statistic is at 27 and 30%. It could be higher. And this is coming directly from someone who works at the CDC. So once again, if you are not diligent yourself into looking into the numbers and the information and how they're collecting the data and reading the fine print, you will take everything that you're seeing at face value. You have to, number one, know how to break up and divvy up those statistics, because they'll show you one statistics, but you have to find X. I look at statistics as finding X being the unknown. The actual number of single fathers is unknown because there isn't enough information. And this is what they will never own up to. I've actually said this on several occasions, and they tried to argue me down, even though it's saying right there in the notes on the CDC website that this information is incomplete. It's saying they're giving you statistics based off incomplete information. But I will digress on that. Like I said, it is what it is. These guys they'll be able to tell a lot of women anything. And they will be able to throw out a number, but you have to go back and read everything. And this is why I tell my children, read everything. Read the fine print. If something sounds a little off, read the fine print. Now, they dislike women like me because I'm older and wiser. Now, when they get to calling you bitter and old, that's just cold talk for she's older and wiser. Bitter is the code word for wiser. Remember this. Every time you hear them use the word bitter in reference to women, they're actually saying, oh, look at those old, wiser women. When they say old and bitter, they really mean old and wiser. Just go ahead and substitute the word bitter for wiser, and that's what they really mean. They do not want the women to be wiser. They want you to stay dumb and naive. They do not want you to evolve and grow. That is the reason why they hate older women. And in the age that you start to evolve and grow, ironically, is the age that they say you hit the wall. You start to evolve and grow in your 30s. When you're younger than that, you got a little pea brain man. You just worried about partying. You ain't thinking about the details. They like that. Young minds make for fun times when it comes to predatory men. Now, when you hit 30 and you really start thinking about stuff and you start looking at things and putting two and two together and calculating and becoming older and wiser, they call you bitter. They say you hit the wall. And I'm telling you, all of this name calling, all of this shenanigans of going back and forth, that's all it really boils down to. It boils down to the fact that they do not want women who are smart and wise. They want a blow-up doll. I'm just gonna put it to you like that. If they could make a blow-up doll, they already make them realistic enough. But if they could also make that blow-up doll cook, clean, and have babies too, carry their babies, they would goddamn marry that blow-up doll. The blow-up doll don't have to talk. All she got to do is make sex noises and say, yes, daddy. That's what they want. They don't want you to be a thinking woman. And if you look, go on my community tab. I posted the video up on my community tab. But the title of the video is Do Black Women Have Attitudes by one master teacher. Listen to that entire live stream and pay attention to the black male fuckery. And you will see everything that I have been saying on all of my videos, they pretty much corroborate what I've been saying this entire time about them. If you give them enough time, they will actually tell on themselves. But at any rate, I'm getting ready to go through this border crossing, and I can't have this light on, so I am about to pull over, turn this light out, and go ahead and cross the border. But I am so thankful and happy for all of you that came in. I see people watching in the clouds, so even the people that are watching in the clouds, thank you for coming in. Gia Girl, thank you. And also, thank you, Nikisha Morrow. You guys could be anywhere, but you decided to be here with me. And I'm out. I got to cross this border and finish the rest of my day. So I will see you guys later on in the next video. Thank you for watching. Oh, and by the way, don't forget to hit the like button. Thank you.